Sahana vavatu, Sahanao bhunaktu, Sahaviryang karavavahai, Tejasvina badhitamastu, Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So verse 13 talked about this instrument that you came into this world with, and you're wearing this instrument now. And this instrument ages, it decays, it goes through different situations, and people speak to your instrument. They say hello, and when they speak to your instrument, that physical instrument, also has a subtler instrument, which enables this physical instrument to see, to hear, to taste, to experience tactile feedback, to think. And when the subtle instrument, called the subtle body, thinks or it receives feedback, someone says something to that instrument, and that instrument has an emotion evoked, because you have a human heart, so you cannot quite stop the mixture of sukham and dukkham. This is not possible. So even a wise person, right, who we often have this image of some person that's in this indifferent mode, you have a human heart, and a human heart is meant to experience empathy. In fact, the less empathy this instrument feels for, someone's story, someone's going through pain or through sadness or through joys, and I'm unable to feel that, then that cannot be called wisdom. That's called something's shut down, because your emotions are not a way outside of Ishvara. So it's not just the intellect, it's not just thinking, what these things are. It's also feeling into the world, because you're made as an instrument to respond to situations. So that's a healthy human heart that's able to feel into other people's pains and joys. And then it responds according to what it feels. You're made as an instrument to be like this. So when we see these statements, a wise person is equanimous towards pain and pleasure, and they're indifferent to the world, and they have an equanimous mind. It implants these ideas, right? That the wise person is, not attending to situations, not caring about someone else's well-being, kind of remains distanced. This is not what the scriptures are meant to convey. They want to convey there's a certain equanimity that you enjoy owing to your understanding of what this instrument is about. It is an instrument given to you, and it's designed to do many things. It's designed to collapse many possibilities. It can go out dancing and have fun. That's also healthy. It can learn something. It can break through something that's been holding it back. It can collapse the highest potential and discover its truth, discover your truth. All of these possibilities are given to this body. Sometimes people look at your body and they say, oh, and they have a thing about it. It is something triggers them. It's just what is triggering? A physical body, facial features. Someone on YouTube, and I've always had this problem since I was a kid, left me a comment and they said, oh, look, a 25-year-old person is teaching life wisdom. Ha, 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 ha. Just like that. I've always had this problem. When I was 25, I looked like 16. Now that I'm 40, I look like 25. When I'm 60, I'll look like 30. It's amazing. So you can see the shallowness of this kind of thinking. You look at one sharira, the physical body, and it stops, right? It doesn't go deeper. It just stops. That cannot be called wisdom. So this model wants to show you there's much more than meets the eye. It's not just the physical body. You let the physical body age. It will age according to the rules set out. Cannot stop it. And since this morning, this physical body, together with the subtle instrument, has woken up. It has assumed a role, maybe a role of a father or a parent or a wife or a husband or a lover, or a sibling or a grandmother, a grandfather, or a worker. It has assumed the role. And what has assumed this role? The physical and the subtle body. But then I lose myself in that role. So all of the value attached to one role, suppose you're an important figure at your work and people look up to you, and they give a lot of value to one role that you wear out of many roles. And my identity being placed in that role, I start to depend on the existence of that role every single day. So all of the value that that role gets is my value. And that role gets taken away like that, one moment. And all of the value gets taken away right along. From whom? The role or me? Both. Why? Because I entangled myself in the role. Teachers are no exception. They can be an identification with the teacher role. I know things. I'm supposed to teach this. I'm supposed to be a role model. And when someone offers me some feedback, then there could be a mistake. Oh, I'm a teacher. I don't need to hear this feedback because I know. So even a teacher gets caught up in the role of a teacher. Wisdom is recognizing there is an I, there is a conscious being, and there are these bodies who are doing from morning to evening, who are assuming roles morning to evening. They're walking the role of a walker, the role of a talker, the role of a thinker, the role of a one that's concerned, the role of a student, the role of a teacher. They're just roles that we interchange all throughout the day. And every role is a doer. That's what a role really means. A karta, a role is a karta, a doer. A karta role of a employee is very different. The kind of things that is done by that role are very different that are done by a father or a mother or a spouse. So my I gets placed in this karta, the doer. I am walking. I am now teaching. I am now listening. I am now inquiring. I am going through a time in my life. I am doing this inquiry. I am doing the figuring out of who I am. That's because the I is placed in the role, into the doer. And thus, the whole life, I do things. And a doer cannot go without an enjoyer. They're always together. The doer breaks through, and the doer goes, ah, I broke through. I got it. But the I is still in the doer enjoyer. And so that's kind of a cool thing, right? You want to have another breakthrough now because you are now in the role. The actor is the role. And thus the actor, together with the role, that mixture does again because I want to enjoy again. I'm now an enjoyer. I become an enjoyer, a sufferer, because when I do things, when I play the role always gives you a response from the world. It gives the response to your two bodies. And so it becomes enmeshed. And one moment, a role is no longer necessary, like AI. No, now we don't need programmers as much as we did. And a programmer spends their whole life getting that value. You know, I can program JavaScript, Python. AI comes, you just type in an English prompt, design me a program that can do this and that. It does it. All value is gone. So this is the mistake. You wake up, I am waking up. You eat, I am eating. You're in pain, I'm in pain. Now you're enjoy or suffer. You go for a walk, I'm walking. So there comes a point where one has to remind oneself, initially, remind oneself, I'm not teaching now. I'm not listening now from your standpoint. Body is teaching. Body is listening. Then the body will go in a few minutes and eat. Body is eating. The body is swallowing. The body is walking. The body is thinking. The mind is thinking. There's not one thing that you ever did in your life, the most lazy being ever, resting in your limitless self. Not one thing. The body did a lot of things, a lot of wise things, unwise things. I was there all along, in your mind also right now, in this mind also right now, lighting it up, lighting up the whole phenomena. How is this known to myself? I am conscious being, ordinary, aware, a awareful conscious being. That is the light that's lighting up this door, talking to this listener. Do I have to negate this door of the talking now to discover myself, to discover my nature? Not at all. Just the fact that this door is known to be talking and this door is known to be listening, to me, implies the presence of me, implies the presence of awareness. Does a thought displace you, the awareful being? No, because in the presence of you, an awareful being, a thought comes. What gives light to that thought? I do. Atma. So we're chasing these experiences, but in the presence of I, experiences are coming and going. The door is trying to, with all of their might, to discover myself. But the mere presence of a door, that there is a changing incidental mind with sensations, with concerns, with doubts, implies the presence of the light, the conscious being. What more do you want? Oh no, the conscious being has to be something. But that again, that thought is another desire of the mind, known to the conscious being. No, you don't understand. The wise people said that about the conscious being. It's bliss. That whole thought, that whole argument took place in the presence of, once again, the conscious being. So these three bodies go through change. They're incidental. Incidental means they are modifying, they're changing, they are not essential to the presence of the conscious being. It is I who light up mind. I who light up your mind, who light up this mind. And what is this? How is this I known right now? Do I have to describe it? Just the fact that you're listening to this question, there's a conscious being listening to these words. That conscious being, whatever you want to call it, is I am, Atma. So all these bodies are changing, including your causal body. What is a causal body? Physical body is easy. We just described a 25-year-old guy. That's the physical body. Apparently, he's 25. The subtle body, that's just the thinker, right? The emoter, the desirer, the doubter, right? The one that's concerned, the one that goes through, experiences pain and pleasure. That's all possible because of the subtle body. It's made to experience, to produce. Maybe we'll put the word experience aside for a while because I know this word can be confusing. Your subtle body is meant to produce what we name as joys and sorrows. It's meant to do that because that's how, for transactional reasons. It's meant to do that. It's no big deal. And the causal body, what is the causal body? Well, causal body is two things. I'll write it on the board. So we'll put causal body. And it's two things. It is, how is it changing? Because we know the subtle mind, the thoughts are changing, your physical body is aging and so on. But we'll put this, for example, just for the sake of drawing, every time you do an action, every time this role, this doer does an action in the world, here's the world, okay? That action produces you, gives you what we call punya papam. That means gives you a good result or a pleasant result, a pleasant future result, or an unpleasant future result. Now, this is common sense. You know, for example, give a speech right now on, self-help, something to change somebody's life. And you're going to get two kinds of result from that. Suppose you get a standing ovation. So you're kind of getting, right, acknowledged. This is what lovely. This is your seen punyam. This is your drishta punyam, your seen result. But there's also an unseen pleasant result. How so? Well, someone a month later is going to call you up and say, that was a lovely speech. Would you like to come back again? And you're going to say, wow, this is lovely. I can once again do what I love to do. So you have a certain thrill. And where was that thrill during those 30 days? Let's call it here. Causal body. So there was a punyam, okay, plus 1 point of punya. Why? Because I've done something positive in the world. And when I do something to, something that is injurious to the instrument or other instruments, then that's minus one point or papa, okay? So your causal body is just a bunch of plus ones, minus ones, plus one, plus one, minus one. So you take that combination, for example, you take this combination, and from that combination, we have a life trajectory. We call this your personality, your kind of body, the kind of body that you receive. This is why you can have someone born with disabilities, and you say, how is this possible? Life is so unfair. Well, it's not like that. There is a causal body which sculpts, according to the Punya Papam, the kind of body and a kind of mind that you receive. And the second factor of causal body is what we call samskaras. Samskara. So while you have, look at this, while you have this body alive and this mind, actually the brain is nothing but the body, but I just put the mind as a brain. While it's alive, it's developing new habits, interfacing with the world naturally. So you develop new orientations, new habits, for example, someone says to you, you cannot get very far in this world unless you contribute. And you kind of think about this and you say, okay, I will contribute, I will become a contributor. And now this contribution becomes part of your new orientation. And this orientation is called samskara. That's why when this being gets born, when your body gets born, you come with certain orientations for music, for spirituality, for illegal things, for bad boys, for good girls. You come with certain attractions, a certain magnetism, and this magnetism is called the samskara. It just attracts you innocently. You hear something and you go, I don't know why. I cannot rationally explain why I'm attracted to spirituality, but you are. You just are. Why? Because you have spirituality samskara. And how was it developed? Because of the participation in the world. Some other time, some other life. That participation is developed in orientation, and that orientation just makes you want to, participate with something in this world. And that's why you're here now. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this class. You would be doing many different things. But there is a reason why you're here. And that's why you can have two people born, 1, 2, and they have different orientations, because those two people, even though they came from same parents, past life, their parents were totally different. Their lives were totally different. That's why they come with different orientations, born to the same parents. And therefore, you say to your sibling, we used to kind of get along, but now there's a space as you grow up. That's natural. It's not unique to your family. It's quite natural. Unless in the 1800s or before, right, we used to stick together. This is also possible. And so you kind of, you just reinforce each other's samskaras. So you become one unit. That's also possible. So these three bodies are changing. Okay, Gautam.
Yeah, could you tell the difference between sanskara and vasanas?
Samskara and vasana, the word is quite often used like that. Vasana, that's a long va. So more or less they're the same. Specifically, when I say they're the same, more or less, I specifically mean they mean impressions, deep-rooted impressions. But when I say there is a difference, what I mean by that is vasana is a specific habit, whereas samskara is a theme of habits. Theme. For example, theme is to, for example, communicate with empathy. Empathy. So you have a empathy, samskara, towards everyone, more or less. But you also have a specific kind of, right, the way that you portray that empathy in different situations. For example, with someone that you don't know, and someone that is close to you. So now you could say I have a empathy vasana, which is right towards strangers, and I have an empathy vasana towards those that I'm close to. But more or less, I have a empathy impression. I have an empathy samskara. That means an empathy samskara covers everyone, but vasana is more specific towards individuals. So it doesn't really matter. You can interchange these words. Some teachers will say, don't use vasana. I have no problem with either. I studied from both schools, Swami Dayananda School and Swami Chinmayananda School. Chinmayananda School uses vasana, Dayananda School uses samskara. I've researched into both of these words, more or less, they're the same. Okay.
Andre?
Yes.
Is there any relation with the vasana as being incomplete desires from the past life?
Okay. So, yes. So these vasanas or samskaras, I'll stick with samskaras though. They, as I said, develop orientations like towards spirituality. And how is this orientation expressed outwards? As a desire. So orientation expresses as desire.
Yeah, Andre. So my question is vasanas and samskaras, and then you said there's punyam papam. So isn't punyam papam also a kind of impression? Like would it not fall under the same broad category in the causal body?
Good point. So yes, so the kinds of, remember when I circled this section and I said the kinds of punya papams that you get generally sculpts your personality and your body. So that personality will have orientations. So if there's a lot of papam here, for example, I, did some, some bad things and cheated, die like that. So that every time develops an orientation to kind of, do shortcuts, to step over other people's toes, not to be concerned about long-term consequences. This becomes an impression. But also, that many impressions implies I've got a lot of papam. Because to develop that kind of an impression implies you have to have done things like that in the world which are not conducive to the well-being of you nor to somebody else. So yes, so the amount of papam and punyam that you get is always consistent with the personality that you have, more or less. That's why we say your causal body sets up a general trajectory in your life. A general trajectory. I say general because it's not like now you are stuck forever with your personality. You do come with a personality, by the way, but you're not stuck with it. So you can change it through your, right? It's harder to change, isn't it? When you kind of come with this, oh, I want to play and play and play, and people tell you, no, there's something else, and you, oh, that's fine, but I want to play. So it's much harder, but it's possible. And by the way, one more thing I want to say with this causal body is we tend to turn this into a fatalistic philosophy. And what this means is that we often think that life literally sets up little markers in your life. And when you come to that marker, for example, you're 34 or 50 and 60 or whatever, and suddenly, right, now that you are at that marker, it delivers something in your life. And we say, I see, it's my karma. This is how people look at it, right? There's something waiting for me tomorrow, and I don't know what's going to happen, but it's there. This is an incorrect way to look at it, because this means that, number one, that there is a writer, someone's already written your script, but this is not how it works. A different way that you can look at it is that when you come with this kind of an orientation, with certain desires, then those desires compel you to hang out with the wrong side of the crowd. And the wrong side of the crowd, right? When I say wrong, I mean not educated, not very, conscious. They influence you. And those influences are not healthy for you, not healthy to the survival of your well-being. And that attracts those kinds of fatalistic experiences of going through a hard time, of people cheating you, and oh, why do I always get cheated? Well, because I came with that impression to hang out with the wrong side of the town, and those people influenced me, and now I have to, right, kind of just, experience those effects of having hung out with that kind of a person. So it's not like Ishvara sets up these markers for you and you have to go through them. It's that your own personality attracts circumstances in life. Think about that. Your own kind of orientations set up situations in life that cause you to experience these kinds of what we call punya papa experiences in life, pleasant and unpleasant experiences in life. Just down to earth. No one's setting things up here for you. Every step along the way, you were there. Your body was there. Your mind was there. It was saying something. It was doing something. That saying, doing has produced some kind of an effect. It was a cause, and that cause has attracted a certain kind of result. Now, that result may not be immediate, but it is in the future. Now, that in the future, who set that up? Ishvara? To punish you? No.
Holy mind.
Yeah, your own actions have set up these so-called markers in life, which you have to go through.
Okay, thank you.
Sharmili?
How do likes and dislikes, so like raga, dvesha, how does that play into this?
Okay. So likes and dislike is, like in Facebook and YouTube, we're so conditioned to give now thumbs up and thumbs down. So you can see how ingrained this need for liking something and disliking is in our society. So this is how we are. We have, it kind of lets us know this is not for me and this is for me. But sometimes this can become quite depriving in a sense that it's such a strong dislike, it becomes an aversion. It's like, I absolutely don't want this. It's just not, he's 25-year-old looking, get out of here, like that. Like such a strong aversion for younger faces or older faces or, faces with, beards or so on. It's just, you just totally miss out all the value that person has to give you. Why? Because I had an irrationally strong dislike based on one single condition. And I threw away the entire person based on my one aversion. Same thing with a like. You can have a strong, irrational attraction for music. which is okay. A little bit here, a little bit there, it's fine. But music 24/7, always listening to music, never time to listen to your own thoughts. Now it becomes a means of coping, a coping mechanism, music. So what started
Yeah.
as a normal thing for your emotional well-being has now become a coping mechanism. And therefore I miss out everything else that is offered to me by life. Yes?
Is it based on your vasanas though? Is that how it develops, the likes and the dislikes? Like I guess if it almost feels like you're stuck, you know, because your vasanas impact what you like and what you don't like, and then the more you do what you like or what you don't like, it's or creates that orientation, like you mentioned. It just, you know, how do you get out of it, sort of?
It's hard. It's not easy. It's a valid question. We can all relate to what Sharmila is saying, is that you have this kind of an irrational orientation for something. You know, I've got to have it for my well-being. I cannot go without it. You have to ask yourself, right? What desire is holding me back from pursuing what is really important for me? What desire is kind of pulling all of my thoughts towards one direction and just not giving me a break to think about other things in life? What desire is coloring in? This is where you got desires and coloring in. Vasana is making me color in everything else. For example, you got a desire, an irrationally strong desire for food, for a particular type of food. And throughout the day, what are you going to do? You're going to think about inquiry, but what's going to happen in that inquiry? In the back of the mind, there is, you know, deliciousness of food. It's kind of like taking up your brain power. So I have to ask myself, what am I gaining out of this irrationally strong aversion? What am I gaining? Is it really benefiting me to think, to have this need to judge, to put things into boxes and to feel good about that, to dismiss people and just to cut them off so that I can feel good? Is that enjoyable for you when you're brutally honest? Is that enjoyable to keep on being this helpless creature, to having to put things into little boxes and label them, how things are supposed to look like, what he's assuming intentions, assuming like you know someone's intentions? That's also a desire, a vasana. I know your intentions. You haven't spoken to me for 2 days or 5 days. I know exactly what she or he's thinking. They're plotting something against me. I'm going to plot something against them before they have a chance to plot against something against me. I'm going to go first. You become in this little puppet, pulled to one direction by your own irrational likes or dislikes. And so you ask yourself, this is painful. You don't even ask, you just recognize this is painful. I don't want to live like this. I want to release myself from this need to kind of just, you know, constantly look at something, give it one little label and then walk away and then do the same thing to everything else. It hurts you. So the first thing we do is recognize who is benefiting from this. No one. That person, whoever is being labeled, they don't even know about your intentions. Or idealizing people, putting them up on a pedestal. Oh, they're so high. They're a teacher. They know everything. Oh, the student, he or she always says something in the class. I'm not that smart. Oh, the teacher's asking questions. I'm intimidated. This class is not for me. Look at this. Aversion towards questions. I even had this. Sometimes a person walks out. They can't stand it because they feel like I should be able to answer every question, but I'm unable to. Therefore, I don't want to participate in class. Why? So that I can uplift my glory. I can have a little bit of that. Can't stand my discomfort. My like for feeling like I'm supposed to know things. So the moment one gets challenged, that like gets challenged. And so one makes a course correction or course error and they come out and they miss out all of the benefits that the rest of the teachings have to provide. So you can see how, think about it, how your own likes and dislikes are just throwing you like a leaf. Wind blows left, I go left. Up, I go up. Is this pleasant? Is it helping you? One has to be brutally honest. It's not helping anyone. And all you want, end of the day, is happiness. One can philosophize about happiness. One can philosophize about different techniques. Give me meditation techniques to calm my mind down. The moment one gets out of meditation, back into labeling things, back into judgment mode, back into likes and dislikes. I only got respite for how long? 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So first step is to get really clear. This is not helping me. Then prayer. Lord Shiva, the Lord of destruction, the Lord who can help me, remove this notion. I am helpless. If I had control, I would have pressed the button a long time ago and removed this need to label, to opinionate, to think that I know how things are supposed to look like, to expect certain kind of things, results, to have certain expectations. But the world doesn't work like that. The world is not made to suit your fancies. It's just not made like that. Only an individual has this idea, the world has to suit my fancies. And this does not help you. It's painful. It costs you happiness. It costs you concentration. It costs you devotion. It costs you recognition of Ishvara. It costs so much. Get clear, very clear for once and for all. It is not fair unto yourself to keep doing this kind of labeling and judging and like you know, like you should get, the person should respond to you like this. They should know everything. They should never make a mistake. You should never make a mistake. There's no such thing as infallible human being. Everyone is fallible. The only infallible being is Ishvara. Everyone, including teachers, gurus, everyone makes mistakes. But now suppose you have a dislike for someone making a mistake. They make one mistake out. Again, it costs you a relationship because the relationship takes time to develop. And it's not easy to develop a long, stable relationship. It's not romantic, by the way. So unless we get challenged and we get ourselves to stay in those challenges, there's no growth because it's just a coping thing. Oh, now I'm being challenged. Next. We're not here. The world, by the way, is not a place that was designed to make you miserable nor happy. It is a place where work happens. That's all. The happiness and the joys and the sorrows, they're just incidental. They're just byproducts of working, doing the work. Doing the work. That's why I came here, to do what is to be done. Everything else that comes along with that is just a feedback to put you back onto course track, on the right course of action. That's all, just feedback. Ishvara's feedback saying, hey, you've gone a little bit off track here. You said something, you thought you figured it all out. You really thought about it, but when you delivered that speech, delivered that argument, the other person didn't respond very well. And you're thinking, wait a minute, I've been studying the scriptures for 20 years. I follow Krishna's words. And I did everything according to the scriptures. And yet the result that I got from the other person was one that produces tightness, produces awkwardness, produces contraction, closure of heart. Oh my God, what did I do wrong? Ishvara gave you feedback. Time to make a course correction. So every time we have this emotional response as a result of inserting our likes and dislikes in our words, sometimes unbeknownst, completely unbeknownst. Ishvara gives you feedback where you were coming from. Were you coming from an authentic place, or were you projecting a little bit of that, what needs to happen according to my rules, what should happen according to my ideas? So you don't know where you were coming from until you get feedback. And it's not easy to get feedback, is it? Especially when it is not according to the idea that you expected. Because we all love to think, I'm coming from an authentic, clear place. But life shows you that is not the case. Even if you've got scriptural words by the letter in your head. In fact, the scriptures only become valid when you're challenged. Now they become truly alive. Now you go, okay, how can I use this teaching and look at this challenge through the light of what Lord Krishna is saying to me? In verse 14, he's going to say, Shita Ushna, constantly life brings you discomfort in a form of physical experiences. Shita Ushna, this is physical discomfort, and also brings you Sukha Dukkha. This stands for mental discomfort. So just by having your eyes open, ears open, you receive data, and that data produces some kind of a response. Can't stop it. That's how it's made. So no one can be totally free from pain and pleasure, Sukha Dukkha, nor physical discomfort, Shita, Ushna, cold and hot, warm, whatever it is. Because you have a human body meant to respond. Liberated or not, can't get away from it. There will be some discomfort, some joy. So it's not all suffering here, by the way. There is also joys here. So what is the challenge? What is the attitude by which we can now approach this kind of oncomings of the physical and mental discomforts, which the body is designed to give you? It's designed to produce feedback. And the verse says, titiksha. What is titiksha? It's the ability to look at any situation with a certain composure, a certain kind of thinking. And what kind of thinking do I look at any challenge in life? What kind of composure do I have when this unpleasant situation is confronting these three bodies right now? What do I do with that information? Well, first of all, understand and acknowledge. Things are always changing in this world. They cannot stay the same. So what produces this sense of discomfort is this idea that I want things to be like this forever. But the truth is they cannot be like this forever. They're not meant to be like this forever. Like in a relationship, right? We all love this moment of honeymoon. I want this to remain forever. But anyone knows all of those peaks, they follow up with something different. They don't stay the same. Never, ever. So firstly, I need to acknowledge no peak in my life will ever remain peak. Sharpness of your mind won't remain sharpness of the mind in a couple of years. It will go down. Physical health won't remain physical health. It will be relatively different in a couple of years. I can also understand that without pain, you can't grow. Think about this. All of the lessons, all of the most important movements, all of those pushes that you've experienced in life that forced you to relook at those situations, to relook at yourself, relook at your values. What do you stand for? What will you no longer stand for? What is not for me anymore? What have I grown out of? All of that was nothing but a trigger through pain, through challenges in life. Isn't this so? You're here, right? You're here for different reasons. But if one thing that can be common amongst all of us is that we're here because pain pushed us to be here. Discomfort pushed you to be here. Happiness is also lovely. We all need this. Otherwise, you go insane, just challenging yourself with more pain, more pain. So there's a balance there. So first attitude I take in reference to challenges occurring to this body, mind, to these three bodies is they're meant to happen. Without them happening, I will never truly learn what is to be learned. Because as I said, this is work. Earth is a place of work. The pain and pleasure is just incidental byproducts as a result of my work. And as I said, noting the difference between myself, the witness, and the roles that are being played. The moment I put myself in my roles, whatever value belongs to the roles becomes my own value. So I want you to ask yourself this. If I ask you this question, where is your value? Where is your worth? Listen to the question. Where is your self-worth? It's so easy to respond to this and say, it is in being an Advaita student, in being a teacher, in being a father. Your self-worth is in being a father, a teacher, a worker? Careful. Think about it. In other words, knowing the difference between me, the witness, and the roles that are being played, the doer who's doing, who's talking right now, who's going to go to the park, go to driving the car. These are all doers, a bunch of doers shaking hands one moment to the next. Wake up, I'm a father doer, the father doer. Then shakes hands and offloads the father doer to the worker doer. And then the worker doer comes back, shakes hands, goes, okay, father doer, take over again. The worker doer takes a nap, and then the father doer continues doing. All throughout that, what in the presence of whom is that taking place? My true nature, Atma Satyam, which is Sat and Chit. So it's not a matter of denial, not a matter of putting things under the carpet. I know hands up, I will answer. It's just putting things in the right place. Vedanta is never about denying anything. There's no need to deny anything. Just know what is what. Because reality is already perfect. Only my mind makes it imperfect and says, I don't like it, therefore I need to put it aside. It's already as it is. It's designed by all knowledge, all power. The one that doesn't make mistakes. Ishvara is infallible. It doesn't make mistakes. The only thing that I can do is recognize that and then align my life to Ishvara's orders, which will be spoken of in verse 15. Before I answer the question, Leo, I'm going to chant verse 14, which we just did now, and I'll get someone to read it. Verse 14. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama payino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata.
Konteya, Arjuna, the context of the sense organs with the sensory world that give rise to cold and heat, pleasure and pain, which have the nature of coming and going, are not constant. Endure them, Bharata, Arjuna.
So this is exactly what we say. It is meant to come and go, and I don't endure them for the sake of, trying to pretend like they don't hurt me. I endure them because there's a recognition they are meant to come and go. It's part of living, and no one has it where it's just all one. It's a mixture of both experiences. So it is good that you're receiving them. It means it's giving you an opportunity to re-look at yourself, to redefine yourself every time a challenge comes. You brought the question of samskara and swadharma, your personal duty, your personal thing to be done in this world. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so what is the relationship between them? Well, see your personal duty, which we call swa. I think I used this word before. Swa. And then that means own. So whenever we put the swa, means own. And then dharma. In this case, dharma is what is to be done. What is to be done. Okay, I know dharma can mean also universal values, which is, Ishvara's laws. But in this case, in reference to putting the word swa, it means what is to be done. So yes, everyone has swadharma. For example, right now, see, you have many things to be done throughout the day, but you also have a certain value for knowledge. And based on that value, you gifted yourself the opportunity to hear the knowledge. That gifting yourself is called your swadharma. You are gifting yourself, aligning yourself with what is valuable, what is precious to you. There is something that you treasure in life. And treasuring it, you wish to maintain it in your life. So this maintenance is what's called your Swadharma. And this maintenance of your Swadharma is something that can kind of, conflict with all of these other samskaras, all of these impressions that you have. So again, you have to ask yourself, right, are my samskaras conducive for my well-being, for doing what I value, for my Swadharma, or are they taking me away? And then you can make some course adjustments to, to ensure that, you have more time, maybe 5 more minutes of doing, education or whatever your Swadharma implies. It could be a Swadharma of, being a loving spouse, just having quality time with someone that you love. Like just totally focus, dropping Vedanta for a moment, just total focus on connecting with this person. That's also important. That's called Swadharma, being played in respect to somebody else. Because that maintains the well-being of you, that means the well-being of the whole unit. Now, if I have this compulsion, no, but Vedanta is much better, this is all just Upadi person that I'm talking to, right? There's 3 bodies I'm talking to, right? So no, because see, if you, now again, I'm using Vedanta to start to label. Before I was labeling them with, oh, they're just a lost soul. And now I'm starting to label, oh, they're just the 3 bodies. So the same thing's there, right? You just change your language. So I have to say, hey, everything is important. I just have to see what is what. I have to put it in the right place. It's not a matter of dismissal, just maintaining the general status quo of those things that you happen to be related with. You happen to be related with your brother, your mom, your dad, your worker, your whoever it is. You happen to be related with them. And you have to have a certain etiquette, a certain culture with that person. You got no choice. Because the moment you say, no, this is better, over here is better, then everything else with them suffers. And that goes on to whom? You. It becomes now your problem. So in that sense, Swadharma is doing what is to be done in reference to those people who are close to me in my life. In reference to your teacher, there is a certain relationship different than to those who are in class, different to those who are your friends. So the relationships change, but I maintain the relationship. That maintenance is Swadharma. And what's the cost of kind of just rejecting your Swadharma? The cost is pain brought onto yourself. Because you have a connection to this person. You have an emotional connection. If they go through pain, you go through pain. So in that sense, it is your Swadharma to maintain the general well-being of those people that you care about, who happen to be close in your life. That's Swadharma.
I have one question regarding liberation. Is Ishvara Shankalpa means the thought of Ishvara is greater than the soul's Shankalpa? Suppose if the soul understands all this physical nature of the world and its own mental nature, and it wants the liberation, and whether the individual soul has the right, based on understanding the Punya Paba, whether it has the right to exercise its liberation, or the liberation is in the hand of Ishvara.
Very good question, Hari. So now, first of all, the word soul, soul, this is obviously an English word. I never use it because I know that a lot of people use soul, but soul specifically, if you want to use it, it's probably the only time I will use it. It means the 3 bodies, or the jiva. Okay, so the 3 bodies equals soul. Now the question was, does the jiva have the right to exercise, to collapse the potential of knowing its nature, its unity with Ishvara? Absolutely. In fact, according to the Vedas, this is the highest and the only reason why the jiva is born, to discover its unity with Ishvara. However, how long have you and I been here? Not just this life, a long time. And life is not easy. There's a certain weight of life that pulls us down. If we had a button to stop this weight, we all would have pressed it a long time ago. But we're still here. So this means that even if you have all of the tools available to you, you have the guru, you have the methodology, you have your body, you have a curious mind, still you need Ishvara Anugraha. You still need Ishvara's grace to bless you. Now, what is Ishvara's grace? It's such a vague word. Well, Ishvara's grace specifically means the effort that you put out to help yourself. I'm not talking about being selfish now, because helping yourself also, as I said, is Swadharma, contribution, contributing to the society. That's also part of Swadharma. All of the effort that you put to help yourself to recognize your nature of who you are, all of the little mini notions, they get corrected. All of the little mini non-recognitions of who you are, they get removed one by one, one by one. All of those removals is called Ishvara's grace. Who gave you Ishvara's grace? Was it just randomly delivered from the sky, or you deliberately, through hard effort, earned it? You earned it.
Yes,
You
yes,
earned
Rob.
it. Exactly. So you earned it by sitting down, recognizing the implications of moksha, being sincere. Not even, oh, I'm liberated. Oh, this is my last life. Really? Who are you to say that? We don't say this. End of the day, Ishvara has the last call. Even if one totally is convinced, oh, and no doubts, still, out of sole purpose of humility, I continue to pray, Ishvara, please release me from this cycle of rebirth. I have done every breath I've invested to know myself, to pray, to devote, to do what is to be done. Now that my life is coming to an end, I'm finished. I don't want more forms. I don't want to be born in time and space again. I just want to be as I am, the limitless one. Ishvara then, right, has the last call. So humility until last day. Otherwise, yes, we earn it. We earn Ishvara's grace.
I got a curiosity before, and I think it's in context, but before, when describing this, the language was, I have these samskaras, or these are my vasanas. What is the first part? What is the I being, what's the name of that I that's being referred to there?
Sure. So it's tricky when we start to speak like this. I have samskaras, I have vasanas. It would actually be a lot more simplified. However, people don't speak like this. So we have to kind of use ordinary language. But maybe in class, we can say something like, there is a samskara for a jiva called Arkiri. There is a samskara or a vasana or a desire for another jiva, different samskara, for another jiva called Andre.
And so this jiva, if we use that word, just that has a continuity to it, a stickiness that keeps the particular vasanas and whatever. If we're forgetting about the three bodies that come and go, it is something that kind of, it does come and go, but also doesn't in a different time span where I might die and whatever deeds or whatever words we put on it I've done this year build to form, or contribute to form the ongoing vasanas and samskaras and all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, so the continuity is in reference to the causal body. So the only thing that truly survives all of these lifetimes, millions of lifetimes, is the causal body. So when I say causal body, what do I specifically mean? That which survives? Impressions and punya papam. That survives. And every time this person dies, what happens is the body definitely goes and the mind gets reprogrammed. It doesn't matter if you say the mind destroys, you just say mind is reprogrammed according to the new set of punya papam. So in that sense, what continues? Where is the continuity? The causal body.
So that causal body, is that synonymous with the English word soul in some way?
so if I convert the word soul into a jiva, the jiva can be without a physical body. The jiva can be without a subtle body, but the jiva can never be without a causal body.
What makes a jiva more than just the causal body then?
Jiva is always a jiva. It can just take on 2 more layers on top of itself. So jiva is a causal body. Jiva is a causal plus subtle body, or jiva is a causal plus subtle plus physical body.
Gotcha. What attributes that causal body to that jiva, and is it the same? So it is the same. It's the same causal body. Someone or something has set it up that a specific set of causes and effects continue to be attributed via one of these subtle bodies, the subtlest causal in this model, and that continues with it. Well, it didn't have a start apparently, which is a little confusing to the brain, and doesn't have an end, but it continues as is whilst a jiva, it is a jiva, but then it can become a jiva with, so it can, that just, that's a bit of a
just to simplify it. So there was never a time when right now there was never a time when you and I were enjoying self as the limitless one. You and I always came with always had a causal body on top of self. There was always a causal body on top of you, the self, one Brahman, one existence. The reason why you have this causal body is because consciousness, right? It has a certain capacity to manifest the causal body. It has a capacity to manifest. It just happens to have this capacity to manifest the causal body. Now, consciousness, the reality, the irreducible reality called Brahman, which if I describe is, did I describe Brahman? They use the word Brahman, means brh, which means big. Maybe I'll use this word later. So I used the word Sat and Chit. It existed, remember, according to verse 12, there was never a time when you, what is you referring to? In this case, Sat and Chit. There was never a time when you were born. That means this reality is without a beginning. It always was. But because this reality, which always was and never had a beginning, has a capacity to manifest the causal body, there was always, and what does the causal body do? It always produces a sentient body, a sentient being. So the causal body was there for how long? It was never born also.
Mm-hmm.
So this means you as a person never started. You were always wearing a causal body, a subtle body, and physical body dies, of course. So these 3 bodies you always had, you were always coming with them. Why always? Because
when you say you, sorry to interrupt, but that's jiva?
These 3 bodies always came being worn by you, the self. One self, I am. One self from one standpoint is right now resting in itself. Limitless. That same self from this standpoint of manifestation is wearing a physical body. That physical body is called Arkiri. So from one standpoint, I am right now resting in myself as the limitless one. Sat Chit, which is Ananta, which is without limits, everything. But from this standpoint of the physical world, because of the capacity of this one self to manifest the world, it manifests these different vessels called Arkiri, Gautam, Keri, Asha, Andre. And when the vessel manifests, one self is here. One self is there. One self is there. One self is there. All looking through different instruments. But all selves, only one self is known as I am, conscious being. So what is moksha? It is just stopping this process of finding me, the self, wearing one more causal body, wearing the physical body, wearing the subtle body. It's just disconnecting from that, just moving my identity, myself, from these 3 bodies back onto myself, which is already free right now.
It's fascinating, isn't it? So if I was to try and feed that back as I've understood it, Brahman, just because it's limitless and can, one of those things that could be produced is this causal bodies, the jivas.
Yeah, only to its capacity to do that. Yeah.
Yep. So because it has limitless capacities, one option is this, for example. And then within this, we already are, we've never not been.
Yeah.
Brahman.
Exactly.
Like,
so you are already the final reality right now. But from this standpoint of manifestation, right, this capacity produces forms, produces vessels. One of them is called Bobby, called Andre, right? They're just many vessels, and fish, they're just vessels. And so I, oneself, am now looking through different eyes. I'm looking through Andre's eyes. I'm looking through Amol's eyes. I'm looking through Ellie's eyes. And how am I known to myself right now? I am conscious being. Do I have to tell you that you're conscious? Do I have to tell you that you exist? No. So whatever you want to call that, Bugulugu, that is the final reality. And how is Bugulugu known to you? As a conscious, awareful being. Just happens to be looking through different instruments. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing right with it either. Just have to come to a point and you say, hey, do I still want this? Do I want more forms? Do I want one more world? Do I want heaven? Do I want heaven? Fine. If you want, if the jiva wants heaven, the jiva will find itself in heaven after death. This is also possible in Ishwara's world. So fine. So Ishwara just keeps on giving you whatever you want, but Ishwara can equally give you the capacity to collapse, which is to say, I don't want to be wearing one more upadi, one more superimposition onto myself. I want freedom of superimpositions. Then Ishwara simply responds, brings you the teaching, brings you the guru, and brings you the interest, the commitment, and the energy to stay at it. But it's not always easy because the mind is so conditioned. All of us have such a deep-rooted samskara that I am a body-mind, that the moment you mention this teaching, people get uncomfortable. I heard some comments, Swami Tadatmananda, he's a great fellow in America. And people leave comments there. And someone said, I've been listening to you, Swami, for years. And no matter how clear you are, this just doesn't, it just escapes us. It escapes us. Like it just goes throughout the other ear. No matter how much effort you put to explain clearly what is the nature of I just keep on doing Vipassana, keep on doing this meditation. It just totally escapes us. And this was like, wow. When you actually see that people, it's not easy because of this deep-rooted, beginningless notion that I am this much. I am these three bodies right now. The doer who's doing the talking, I am him. So I get it. It's
so
not
that's the prerogative to wake up then?
Huh?
That's the prerogative to remember or to know yourself in the fullest.
Yeah.
Like just because it could, just for example, Brahman has created this option to have jivas so that they could have a prerogative to remember who they were. Is that
I'll just rephrase that. No, Brahman didn't create anything. See, so I had to bring the teachings later on. Brahman's capacity, by the innocent capacity of Brahman enjoys a capacity. That capacity just keeps on creating. That's all it does. It just creates. By the presence of the capacity, it creates the world. And this capacity is nothing but Brahman. Even right now, as we speak, it's nothing but Brahman. But because the jiva came with non-recognition of Brahman, the jiva always saw the world as separate from itself, when in reality, right now, all that is here is one. Forms, it's just a form, but it's actually just one Brahman right here. And I'm still to show you this in verse 16, a little bit, as we go through the teaching.
Thank you.
So it's not like, listen, it's not like this manifestation is Brahman. It's like two things here. It's one reality manifesting as different things. And I will show you this as we go to the proper methodology.
Thanks, Andre. It appears to me that even all this, with all due respect, is not apart from who I am.
Yeah, that's right. So this will become more and more deeper and deeper and deeper and clearer, because as I said, the samskara is so strong even after knowledge takes place. Here's some news for you. Even after knowledge takes place, there is still a samskara that I am a body and a mind. Still, the person wants to attend to their desires, wants to attend to good foods, wants to get a little bit naughty. Hey, I figured out I'm the whole, and I'm still acting like a body mind. Look at this. It's totally contrary to what you read, right? What you would think. So you have to get realistic. This is why we have 3 stages in Vedanta: listening, ascertaining, like really, getting clear. And then after I get clear, guess what? Your journey has only started. After knowledge takes place, moksha, your journey has just started. When I say your, in this case, I specifically mean the jiva. Because the jiva is still being there. It's still there. And the jiva is still having this notion, oh, I'm a body, mind, body, mind, body, mind. So now the jiva has to, continue what's called nididhyasanam, assimilate, continue to be deeply immersed in this knowledge, so that this deep-rooted notion that I'm a body, mind starts to reduce and reduce and reduce. You don't have to, by the way, because when the knowledge takes place, that's it. There's no rebirth. But it just turns out so that to gain the fruits of this knowledge, the jiva, out of mere compassion, helplessly continues to be immersed in Vedanta, to remove these last traces that I am a body, mind, and I still act contrary to my nature as the one limitless being. I still act like a small individual in this world, despite knowing myself as the fullness, as pure as fullness, which lacks nothing. Still act like a small individual. Huh? I thought moksha was, the end. Like, that's it. I'm suddenly everywhere. So these notions have to get corrected. Otherwise, the person will remain forever unhappy. Oh no, I haven't got it because I'm still operating as a small individual. That is your samskara talking, not I. In the presence of I, there is a samskara belonging to the causal body, which is expressing as discontent in the subtle body, which is producing a chemical of some chemical in the brain at the level of the physical body. In the presence of I, that is taking place.
So, Andre, just extending on Arkturi's question. So the moksha, right? So one limitless substratum and Brahman, and bearing or wearing 3 bodies is jiva. But the substratum is still Brahman, like that I am. Now, when you say moksha, right? So when you say I'm identified with these 3 bodies, that means I have that knowledge, deep-rooted knowledge, that I am identified with these 3 bodies, which when we say knowledge, that means I heard in one of your videos, so it's a vritti, a thought, that I am associated with 3 bodies. But when this physical body, we leave this physical body, right, and then there is only causal body, and that impression creates a new subtle and physical body, then in what state do you really get moksha? Like, because it's just impression in the causal body. So getting moksha means generating a vritti in the subtle body that you are not body, mind, and then that creates an impression in the causal body, or like, because in the causal body it's still that I am, that Brahman, and wearing that causal body, then who get moksha?
So the error here is, great question. I'll just point out something. First of all, the fact that I am body, mind is not knowledge. It's a result of non-recognition of my true nature. That is what makes me continue to think of myself, I, as one who is mixed up with these 3 bodies. Secondly, moksha is not vritti vyapti. Moksha is phala vyapti. Vritti vyapti means, if I, for example, ask you to, just imagine an elephant right now. Imagine an elephant, or whatever, a duck, right? what happens in your mind? Your mind creates a duck, an elephant. Values, for example, empathy. This is a value, value of kindness or reaching out to help. All of these values, they are form of vrittis. They're modes of the mind. When the mode of empathy arises, it reaches out and feels someone else's pain or joys. These are modes of the mind. Every thought you ever have, including these words, are modes of the mind. They produce mental images in your mind. This is, by the way, how your mind works. It works through mental images. These are all vrittis, vritti vyapti. That means vyapti means result. So what has resulted when you saw this? A pen. Why has this pen resulted? Because your mind has recreated this object. Now, is it here? Where's the pen now? It's not here, is it? But look at this. Pen. What happened? Two things happened. Number one, mental image got created in your mind. That's called vritti vyapti. Vritti means mode, vyapti means result. So the result was image. But what else has taken place? Something called phala vyapti. What is phala vyapti? Ignorance of pen has been removed. Why? Because what came in the place of no pen? What came in the place of it? Pen. So when an image gets created in your mind, it simultaneously removes ignorance of that object. That's why there is knowledge of this pen right now. Follow me? Simple,
Yeah.
I guess simple. Two things happen when anything gets shown to you in this world. Vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. What is vritti vyapti? Simple. Mental image gets recreated in your mind. Whether it's a memory of something you've done with your loved one, or whether it is something you actually see with your physical eyes, either way, it is vritti vyapti. What else happens? Phala vyapti. Phala vyapti means ignorance of that object is now removed. Why? Because you have an image of it. Therefore, I now know the image is there. Now, when it comes to knowing your nature, can you say that Atma, and let's go back to the word Atma, because I don't think I used the word Brahman, have I? I don't think I used the word.
Right.
Okay, let's stick to the vocabulary that we use, or so I can guide us all through, rather than just throwing words that we haven't used. So when it comes to Atma, which is of the nature of awareness, which is formless, can you say that that is vritti vyapti, a mental image? No.
No.
Because because you can only create a mental image of something which has a form. That means it's bound, right? Form. It starts here, it ends here. It's this tall. It's a form. Formless means there's nothing I can attribute onto Atma. There's nothing I can attribute onto awareness. It is attributeless. So when it comes to moksha, it is not an image that a person creates in their mind. Oh, I am limitless. This is just another thought you're having. But what happens upon moksha is phala vyapti. What is phala vyapti? The last mental image, a mental image which was making me an object, that gets removed. In other words, all this time, I was turning Atma into something, into some object. It's sometime in the future. It's not here now. It is maybe when we finish chapter 2. Then I will know Atma. When I complete verse 18, then Atma will be revealed to me. You see what you're doing? You're putting Atma into a mental mode which is found somewhere in the future. It's not vritti vyapti. It's not an image. It's not a thought. It is the presence in whose presence even this thought right now is being revealed. Is known to you. It's known to you. Why is these thoughts, why is this question known to this person called Ashish? Because of Atma. Therefore, when it comes to moksha, no image gets created. Rather, ignorance gets removed. What kind of ignorance? Those notions which were turning Atma, awareness, into some kind of a form, some kind of an image, some kind of an experience to be had in the future, some kind of a thing that is over there and is not here right now. Remember, you're not gaining anything new. The wave doesn't gain the water. The water is not in the future for the wave. The wave wants to get the water in the future. You see what it's doing? It's converting water, which is the entire being of the wave, which is known to itself as I am, as a conscious being, which is equated to the water here. It's known to it all the time, and yet it wants to know itself as I am in the future. Does this make sense? It doesn't make sense. So this is the samskara, the deep-rooted samskara that cannot accept that ordinary awareness is all there is to it, is the final reality. There's nothing more to it. Ordinary I am, conscious entity, conscious being, that is just conscious to all of these phenomena that are taking place. So what is moksha when there's that owing up? It's as simple as this. It's as simple as just awareness. It's as simple as that. But it's not that easy, apparently. As I said to you, this comment, I was like, wow, people go through this time, it's actually, it makes you humble, like, wow, really? It's hard? Well, apparently it is hard. And it was hard for all of us. It was hard, it was hard for me many years, turning it into something. I just wrote, actually, in the journal. I was looking at my journal a couple of years back. I journal stuff. And I went to a retreat and I wrote, I found Atma. I found it. It is nothingness. It's that state of nothingness. And I can access it if I just focus right here in my throat. I'm in touch with it. I wrote word for word. I finally got it. It's that state of nothingness. No thoughts, nothing. Yes, wow. I wrote that proudly in my journal. And this was in Hawaii. The shaman then told me, who also doesn't know his nature, said, no, Andre, that is not the self. That is not the self. The self is felt in your body. I was like, wow, the self is felt in your body. Yes. How is it felt in your body? As joy. So when I experienced happiness, then I am the self. That's right. Oh, okay. So I need to experience, I need to be more happy to experience, and then I have to be happy forever. Okay, I'll do that. I wrote that proudly too in my journal. That is my work. You see this? The student's ignorant. With all due respect, he did a lot for me. He showed me how to develop my intuition. But one thing he didn't have is knowledge of self. Both are misguided. You see how the ignorant mind thinks? It always turns it into some location, some position, some future, some past, accessing it somehow in meditation, feeling it in the body as joy. It's not. In the presence of it, joy is revealed. In the presence of I, a desperate attempt to know who I am is also known. By whom? By myself, Atma. And who is this person that's desperately trying to know Atma? The jiva. So the jiva gets revealed in the presence of I am. And this takes time. It's not easy, apparently. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing. But when it's understood, when there's a click, you're like, huh? It's easier than 1 + 1. Because even 1 + 1, you have to think about it. Once upon a time, we didn't know what 1 + 1 is. We had to learn 1 + 1 equals, and we're like, what is it? You have to learn symbols, but you don't have that effort. But how much effort is it to know, to be aware? How much effort is it to be aware right now? Do you have to like, okay, I'm going to be aware. I'm going to be aware of Andres. I'm going to be aware of Andres' words. I'm going to be aware of my thing that's going on in this. Okay, I need to be aware. Do you do that? It's effortless. So the most effortless is you. What is the most effortless? I am. Self. That is the final reality, which is Atma. And this will be concluded next week with verse 15. And we will talk about Ishvara a little bit. And what does it mean to align yourself with God's laws, with Ishvara's laws? So how does now this wise person, how do they live? What do they know that makes their life, conducive? How do you earn Ishvara's grace? We can put it like this. How do we earn Ishvara's grace? And what does it take to earn Ishvara's grace? Purnamadav, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.